Okay, welcome back. Dr. Lindy here. What we're going to talk about now are the 11 systems. And it's important to know the 11 systems by both picture as well as description. So let's look at the pictures first and see if we can identify them. So here in the first one, we're looking at all the bones. The bones make up the skeletal system. Now, we will talk about the skeletal system and break it up into an axial skeleton, meaning everything here in the center, the skull, the spine, the sternum, the ribs, the lumbars, the sacrum, okay? And then we will get into the appendicular skeleton, which is composed of the upper limb or upper extremity, as well as the lower limb or lower extremity. So that's the skeletal system. The skeletal system is really important. We'll talk about its functions in just a second. Here we're talking about the brain, the spinal cord, and nerves. Brain, spinal cord, and nerves. The neural system is actually the very first system that develops embryologically. Now, for those that may be getting into sonography or ultrasound, and many people think the heart is the first thing that develops, because on these ultrasounds or sonograms, people are looking for a heartbeat for the first sign of life. But what we actually see before the heart is the neural system, the nervous system. At about day 18 or so, after sperm and egg come together, the neural system develops. Now, it's not called the nervous system that early on. They'll call it the primitive streak, which becomes the notochord, and the notochord becomes the brain and spinal cord. When we study neurology, we'll break it up kind of like we do osteology, where we'll focus on the central portion, which is the central neural system. The central neural system is just the brain and the spinal cord. And then the peripheral neural system, or the PNS, is everything outside of the spinal cord and outside of the brain. So outside of the brain, we have cranial nerves. That's part of the peripheral neural system. Outside of the spinal cord are spinal nerves that you see here. That's the peripheral neural system. Then we have the respiratory system. The primary function of the respiratory system is the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. The main reason we need oxygen and we breathe in for oxygen is for cellular respiration. When you study the cell, there'll be an organelle called the mitochondria. And the mitochondria, if you remember back in early biology, you learned it to be the powerhouse of the cell. And the reason why it's the powerhouse of the cell is because it is responsible for generating ATP. What is ATP? Adenosine triphosphate. But you need oxygen in order for that to happen. Okay, so let's look at the fourth picture. Now it looks like we're looking at the heart and a bunch of arteries and veins and these blood vessels. That's the circulatory system. And we'll study the circulatory system by looking at the heart, and then we look at the pathway in which the heart pumps the blood, which is through the arterial system and the venule system. The last picture off to the right is the urinary system, which is made up of the two kidneys, two ureters, a urinary bladder, and urethra. Now, sometimes it's confusing for students. They get confused on some of the terminology. So remember, you have how many kidneys? You have two kidneys. Hopefully we have two kidneys. How many ureters do we have? We have two. So in the word, let's look at this. When we look at kidney, how many do we have? Two. When we look at the word ureter, how many E's are in the word ureter? One, two. But here, the exit route is the urethra. Urethra. How many E's are in urethra? Just one. So we have two kidneys and two ureters. The two E's for the two kidneys. So that gives you a little bit of a hint. And then you have a urinary bladder and one urethra in both male and female. The digestive system. We are now breaking down food. You eat food as whole, carbohydrates, proteins, and fats We mechanically break them down with our teeth and some digestive enzymes. And then the stomach has more digestive enzymes, and the liver pushes digestive enzymes, and the pancreas pushes out more digestive enzymes. And eventually we break down these foods for the sole purpose of the carbohydrates, so we can get ATP, right, from carbohydrates that's broken down to glucose, from protein into amino acids, and fats into triglycerides. So from triglycerides, amino acids, and glucose, we can produce ATP as long as we have oxygen available. Here, the external surface of the body, here's the entire skin, that's the integumentary system. Then we have the endocrine system, which are a bunch of glands. In the throat, we have the thyroid gland, and behind the sternum is the thymus, the pancreas, the kidneys, the testes, the ovaries, the pineal gland, the pituitary gland. These are all part of the endocrine system that will release hormones, and together the endocrine system and the neural system work together to try and create homeostasis and balance and normal function within the human body. Here is the muscular system. When we talk about muscles, there are three types of muscles. There's smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, and skeletal muscle. Cardiac refers to the heart. Smooth muscle refers to muscle that surrounds our organs and our blood vessels. But skeletal muscle, this is the type of muscle that attaches to the skeleton, and it's the only one that we have conscious, voluntary control over. Last, we have the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system is a part of our immune system. Look at all these lymph nodes here. You have the spleen, you have the thymus, we have axillary lymph nodes, cervical lymph nodes, mammary lymph nodes, inguinal lymph nodes, femoral lymph nodes, popliteal lymph nodes, cubital lymph nodes, auricular lymph nodes, preauricular, postauricular, all part of the immune system. It's amazing. It helps to filter and clean and return healthy fluids back into the heart. Okay? All right, let's take a short little break here. When I come back, I'll get into a little bit more detail once again about these 11 systems.